Good day, dear students. My name is Islam Shafkat. Today topic morphology metabolic disorders. Damage, injury, under the influence of exercise physiological stimulus, cells process of adaptation develops. If the limits of the adaptive response of cells are exhausted, cell damage occurs. Up to a certain limit, cell damage is reversible. If unfavorable factor is permanent or its intensity is very large, it leads to irreversible cell damage and death. Cell injury types. Reversible damage. In the classic pathology, reversible damage dystrophy. Dystrophy, a pathologic process which is residualization of the tissue metabolism leading to structural changes. This type of cell damage can be manifested by intracellular or extracellular accumulation of abnormal amounts of various substances. Water, lipids, proteins, and carbohydrates. Abnormal substances including exogenous, such as ions, impaired metabolism products, pigments. Morphogenetic mechanisms. Infiltration. Exit penetration of metabolic products from leaf into cells and intercellular substance. For example, fatty liver degeneration in hyperlipidemia. Morphogenetic mechanisms. Decomposition, the disintegration of cell ultrastructures and substance leading to disruption of the tissue metabolism and the accumulation of distributed metabolic products in tissue. For example, fatty degeneration of the myocardium in diphtheria. Morphogenetic mechanisms. Perverted synthesis. Synthesis of substances which do not occur condition. For example, alcohol healing, Mallory capsules in the liver of alcohol abused person. Morphogenetic mechanism. Transformation. Formation of products of one type from common that are used for the construction of proteins, lipids, carbohydrates. For example, the accumulation of glycogen in the nuclei of hepatocytes in patients with diabetes mellitus. Classification of dystrophies. Depending on prevalence morphology changes, the specialization of stromal cells and blood vessels, parenchymal stromal vascular mixed, depending on the type of metabolic disorder, protein, fatty, carbohydrate, mineral. Depending on the prevalence of morphological changes in the spatial of stromal cells and blood vessels, parenchymal stromal vascular mixed. Depending on the type of metabolic disorder, protein, fatty, carbohydrate, mineral. Classification of dystrophies, depending on the prevalence of process, local, systemic. Depending on the etiology, acquired, hereditary. Parenchymal degeneration. Parenchymal dystrophies are specific for disorders of highly functional active cells of parenchymal organs, heart, kidneys, liver. Parenchymal dysproteinosis, accompanied by the appearance in the cell inclusion of protein nature. Parenchymal dysproteinosis morphology is represented by hyaline droplet dystrophy, hydropic dystrophy. Hyaline droplet dystrophy, macroscopical organs are not changed. Microscopical, in the cytoplasm of cells appear large most hyaline droplets, margins IJTIMOIY. Outcome, still died, focal total coagulation necrosis. In picture, hyaline droplet dystrophy. Hydropic dystrophy, macroscopic. Organ are not changed. Microscopically. In the cytoplasm, epivacuolis cytoplasmic fluid. Outcomes, ballooning degeneration, cell dies. In picture, hydropic dystrophy. Parenchymal lipidosis, characterized by impaired metabolism of cytoplasm. Morphological manifest with accumulation of drops fats in the cell's cytoplasm. To identify the lipids, Sudan 3 stained frozen sections are used. Fatty liver degeneration, goose liver. The most common fatty liver degeneration is accompanied by the following disease and conditions: diabetes mellitus, chronic alcoholism, malnutrition, starvation, obesity, intoxication, anemia. Fatty liver degeneration, goose liver. Macroscopic picture. The liver is enlarged, flabby consistency in this section, yellow with soup of fat. Microscopical. When stained with chemotoxin and eosin in the cytoplasm of hepatocytes, vacuoles in place of the dissolved during processing, fat droplets are seen. Sudan 3 staining of fat droplets is orange-red. In picture, fatty liver degeneration, macroscopic change. In microscopic change, fatty liver degeneration. Fatty liver degeneration, Sudan 3. Fatty myocardium degeneration. Tiger heart. Regions for development. Hypoxia is the most common cause. Intoxication. Macroscopic pictures, tiger heart. Heart enlarged chambers are stretched. The myocardium flabby, pale yellow color. From the endocardium, especially in the fluid of papillary muscles, yellow and white striations are visible. Microscopic. Fat degeneration is focal. Fat contamination, cardiomyocytes are located mainly along the veins. Macroscopic change, fatty myocardium degeneration. Mesenchymal dystrophies. Stromal vascular of mesenchymal degeneration, structural manifestation of metabolic disorders, connective tissue being detected in the stroma of organs and vessel walls. Mesenchymal dystrophynosis. Among the stromal vascular dystrophynosis, dissemination, mucoid swelling, fibrinoid swelling, hyalinosis. Mucoid swelling, superficial and reversible disorganization of tissue causes rheumatic disease, atherosclerosis, hypertonic disease, hypoxia. It is characterized by the accumulation of glycosamine glycans in the ground substance of connective tissue. Mucoid swelling, macroscopic picture. Organ of tissue usually do not change. Microscopic, the phenomenon of metachromatic staining. In photos of mucoid swelling, the accumulation of glycosamine glycans are seen during violet metachromatic staining. Microscopic picture, mucoid swelling, fibrinoid swelling, deep irreversible destruction of the connective tissue, causes infection and allergic disease, autoimmune disease. It is based on the destruction of the basic substance or the connective tissue fibers and accompanied by the release and conversion of fibrinogen to fibrin. Fibrinoid swelling, macroscopic pictures. The affected organs and tissues slightly changing. Microscopic pictures, bundles of collagen fibers and The homogeneous eosinophilic indicating a significant increase in the number of glycoproteins. Metachromacy by staining with toluidine blue is absent. Hyalinosis. It is characterized by the accumulation of translucent mass in tissues reminiscent of hyaline category. There are the following types of hyalinosis: vessel hyalinosis, hyalinosis of proper connective tissue. Vascular hyaline. Ordinary hyaline, it arises from plasmology of unaltered components, more common in hypertension as atherosclerosis. Lipohyaline. It contains lipids and B lipoproteins, the most common for diabetes. Complex hyaline consists of immune complexes, fibrin, and collapsing structures, common for the rheumatic disease and other immunopathological states. Vessels hyalinosis, microscopical. Arterios become thick glacial tubes with narrowed or completely closed lumen. Outcomes, in most cases, unfavorable because the process is irreversible. Microscopic pictures, spleen vessel hyalinosis. Connective tissue hyalinosis. Macroscopic pictures, fibrous connective tissue become denser, which is translucent. Microscopic examination, bundles of collagen fibers lost fibrillate and merge into uniform denser chondroid mass. Cell elements are compressed and undergo atrophy. Macroscopical. Spleen capsule hyalinosis, surrogate-coated spleen. Mesenchymal lipidosis, obesity, increasing of fat amount in the deposit. It's general in nature and is expressed. Deposition of fat in the subcutaneous tissue, bowel mesentery, mediastinum, the epicardium. Obesity is the most dangerous in the heart, which is accompanied by heart failure and can lead to rupture of the right ventricle. Obesity degree depending on the percentage of disease body-wide. Grade 1, Grade 2, Grade 3, Grade 4. Types of obesity depending on the mechanism: alimentary, cerebral, endocrine, inherited. By appearances: symmetric type, upper type, middle type, bottom type. Types of obesity. Types of obesity depending on the number and size of adipocytes. Hypertrophic type. Number of adipocytes no change. Adipocytes are enlarged and contain several times more triglycerides. Course of disease is malignant. Hyperplastic type. Number of adipocytes increases. Function of adipocytes is not disrupted. Course of disease is benign. Mixed dystrophy. Mixed dystrophy and morphology manifestation impaired metabolism detected in the parenchymatous, the stroma of organs and tissues as a result of violation of the complex proteins exchanger, endogenous pigments, nucleoproteins, lipoproteins, and minerals. Endogenous pigments. Endogenous pigmentosis are commonly associated with excessive accumulation of pigments, less frequent with the accumulation of pigments occurring only in pathological conditions. Endogenous pigments are hematogenous, proteinogenic, lipidogenous. Hematogenous pigments, they represent various hemoglobin derivatives, the synthesis or breakdown of erythrocytes. The normal are ferritin, hemosiderin, bilirubin, porphyrins. In pathologic condition form, hematoidin, hematin. Hemosiderin, aggregate of ferritin molecules produced in the cells, iron, accumulation of pigment formed by hemolysis hemosiderosis, massive deposition of hemosiderin as a result of increased iron uptake in scaled hemochromatosis. It is detected in the form of brown granules in the cells, rarely extracellular. In post-Prussian blue stain, the beads of hemosiderin are blue-green. Local hemosiderosis. It occurs by the extravascular hemolysis at hemorrhage. An example of local hemosiderosis might be brown induration of the lungs that occurs in chronic venous states in patients with chronic heart failure. Brown induration of the lungs. Macroscopic features. Lung enlarged, denser consistency. On section, numerous brownish granules and connective tissue insertions. Microscopical. A large number of cell contention and brown pigment in the stroma of the lung and in the alveolar and bronchial lumens. Alveolar septa are significantly thickened down to existence of connective tissue. Microscopic picture, brown induration of the lungs, pulse rate. General hemosiderosis. It occurs after intravascular hemolysis development of blood disease, poisoning which hemolytic poisons, infection disease, transfusion of incompatible blood in raises conflict, with the accumulation of pigment organs become rusty brown. Bilirubin. Bilirubin is the main biopigment formed in the cells during hemoglobin cleavage containing iron. In the blood is associated with albumin. In hematocytes, conjugation occurs the binding of bilirubin to glucuronic acid. Thereafter is excreted into the bile. Excessive accumulation of bilirubin in the blood leads to jaundice. Types of jaundice. Suprahepatic jaundice occurs after intravascular hemolysis is associated with general hemosiderosis. The content of unconjugated bilirubin in the blood is increased. Hepatic jaundice, symptom of liver disease, violate capture and conjugation of bilirubin by damaged hepatocytes. The content of conjugated and unconjugated bilirubin is increased. Types of jaundice. Subhepatic mechanical jaundice. The reason is the obstruction of the biliary tract. Violated bile excretion conjugated bilirubin passes into the blood. It is accompanied by cholestasis. Macroscopic jaundice. Proteinose pigments. Proteinose pigments include melanin pigment from granules of enterochromaffin cells, adrenochrome. Melanin, the pigment is brown-black, is synthesized from the action of tyrosines in melanocyte specialized melanosomes. Melanocyte cells of neuroectodermal origin found in the basal layer of epidermis, retina, and iris meninges. Hyperpigmentations. Acquired common hypermelanosis develops in tissue. The tissue is associated with damage of the adrenal glands. Melanin synthesis is unchanged in the skin. It becomes brown, dry, flaky. Hyperpigmentation. Local hyperpigmentation. Frequently lentigo nevus melanoma. Lentigo. Hypermelanosis, melanoma. Macro, micro pictures. Hyperpigmentosis, hypermelanosis. Common hypermelanosis of albinism. Associated with hereditary deficiency of tyrosinase, skin white, disordered hair, red eyes. Local hypopigmentation. Most acquired, rarely congenital, are called vitiligo or leukodema. Vitiligo. Lipogenous pigments. Lipofuscin is solid pigment, also known as pigment. It forms golden brown granules in the cells. The accumulation of lipofuscin in the cells is called lipofuscinosis. Lipofuscin accumulated mostly in myocardial cells, liver, skeletal muscle during aging and is accompanied by the development of brown atrophy of organs. Brown atrophy of heart. Macroscopic picture. Heart greatly reduced in size, fatty tissue under the epicardium is virtually observed. The vessels become tortuous cores. In this section, myocardium type brown, microscopic cardiomyocytes are reduced in size, brown lipofuscin pigment granules in the cytoplasm of cardiomyocytes. Brown atrophy of heart. Calcification, characterized by the deposit of calcium tissues, might be systemic and local. On the mechanism of development are distinguished metastatic, dystrophic, metabolic. Metastatic calcification. The main role is played by hypercalcemia, hyperparathyroidism, massive bone resorption, systemic sarcoidosis, hypervitaminosis D, mild alkali syndrome, chronic administration of antacid, TRF. Metastatic calcification. It is systemic, affects the kidneys, myocardium, large arteries. Calcium phosphate falls primarily on mitochondrial crystal and in the lysosomes, which are matrix for calcification. After the diet, calcification applies to fibrous structures. Cancerous metastasis. These are foxes or metastatic calcification. Macroscopical usually not established. Microscopical are displayed as numerous small, dark, partly foci present by necrotic cells encrusted with salt of calcium, often with agents, portions of the stroma surrounded by inflammatory infiltration and sclerosis. Specific staining for the detection of foci of calcification is a silvering bicause in which they are stained black. Dystrophic calcification. The level of calcium in the blood does not change. It occurs locally in necrosis, dystrophy, sclerosis. For the debunk are relevant alkalization of immuno and increasing activity of phosphatases released from damaged tissues. Vitrification. These are forces of dystrophic calcification. Vitrification can occur in separate necrotic cells and large areas of necrosis. The most common manifestation of dystrophic calcification are the following. Metabolic calcification. Synonyms: intestinal calcification, calciferosis. The level of calcium in the blood does not change. In the development, the role of the following factors being discussed. Unstable buffer system retaining calcium, it is DAVLAT calcification. It may by system or limit. Thank you for attention. Это